Alright, ladies and gentlemen, BaronVonGamez here. But Baron, I'm really excited about this game. World of Warships, I got access to the closed beta test. And you know what? If you guys weren't, there may be an opportunity that I can get you guys access to it too, because I've had a lot of fun with it and I was given some codes. I'll discuss the methods in which, the method to the madness, whereby I will select a couple people to get some CBT codes. We'll cover that at the end, because you know what, I think a lot of you guys are here for some action, so that's what we're going to be covering. But you can see right here that I am in fact captaining the Katori, which is classified as a tier 1 cruiser. Kind of looks not as grand as you'd expect most cruisers to look, but you know what, it'll do for a tier 1 Japanese honorable cruiser. But at the moment in World of Warships CBT, there's two factions, or two nations more appropriately, the United States Navy and the Imperial Japanese Navy. And there's 4 classes of warships, right? You've got destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers. Interestingly enough, at this moment in the game, battleships are only available for the Japanese, and carriers are only available for the United States Navy. Which is kind of interesting. I mean, it's still the closed beta test, so they're still doing a lot of testing, right? I mean, it's called tests, right? So I guess it makes kind of sense. But it's kind of interesting, because if you were to be like, you know what, I really want to go aircraft carriers, you'd pretty much put the majority of the time in the American ships, and vice versa. If you were to go for battleships, you would pursue the Japanese. Now I want to play everything, so I will be putting plenty of time into both nations, so fear thee not, there will be plenty of footage and all that kind of fun stuff over here on BaronVonGamez. So if you're new, which I imagine a decent amount of people will want to check out this game, and you know, we're like, oh, who's this Baron guy? Well, guess what? I like to play games, we play fun games, and we just have a lot of fun. It's a mix of entertainment and informative gameplay, as well as, you know what, a decent amount of skilled gameplay. So there is that. Here's me shooting at another ship. This game is really, really intense, and what I found interesting is that you get so, I mean, I did my first couple games, I found myself to be so tunnel visioned, that, you know, you'd be like, oh, I want to shoot this guy as many times as possible, and you're kind of disregarding how many people are looking at you, how many people are shooting at you, and in some cases, am I going to sail into an island or into another ship, either friendly or enemy? Because in fact, I did accidentally mind you, ram a friendly ship one time, and he was in such low health that I killed him. And it was sad. He sank. I cried. We gave him a couple gun salute. I ended up killing 1 or 2 enemy warships and calling it a day. But you know what? It'll haunt me forever. So about the game right now, there's 2 main modes to play. There's co-op, which is actually against artificial intelligence. There are some bot ships out there. Look how close this engagement is. It's really, really cool. And like the effects, like the sun, it affects you. Like the sun obviously affects you. It's just when it was in your eyes, man, it's terrible trying to like pick out a target and aim, and seeing these little white you know, hitches on your aiming, and it's just like trying to see it through the glare. But it's pretty fun to see how beautiful this game is. You know, even how beautiful those overshots on that ship that was at point blank range, Baron! But you know what? Sometimes you get a little excited. But we set him on fire. Had we missed that shot, and look, someone else is shooting at me. But so there's the co-op, which is against the computers, and then there are the random battles, which put you up against enemy players, actual people. But the difference is, you start out, you have to play co-op until you hit level 2, which isn't too bad. I think it's about, you know, 2 battles probably like that. And this, I believe, is against co-op. I'm not entirely sure, actually. We're gonna have to check the score screen at the end. But so random battles take place after you hit level 2. It's similar to like a World of Tanks progression system, in that you get a ship, you upgrade the modules, you can upgrade guns, you can upgrade like refit. Certain ships were refit. You know, maybe they went out in 1927 and were refit in like 1936. You know, or they were pre-World War II ships, like, oh, came out in 1937, 1939, and then refit in 1943, up-gunned, up-armored, you know, just everything was upgraded. There are things like that. And, you know, there's 10 tiers, so you start out at 1 and work your way all the way up to 10. What I found interesting enough was how intuitive aiming and hitting enemy ships was. And I found out that you pretty much have a max range of around 10 kilometers. So hitting shots at close to 10 kilometers is decently impressive considering they're moving, you're moving, and then the shells aren't necessarily, you know, they're affected by the speed at which you're going, direction, all manner of which. So it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of trigonometry going on, I would imagine, right? I mean, I haven't taken trigonometry in forever, but triangulating stuff, like trying to hit moving targets. But what I did enjoy about this was everything seemed kind of intuitive. If you look in the lower right part of the map, or excuse me, in the lower right part of the screen, you'll see a mini-map, and that white triangle is obviously yours truly, sailing this Japanese cruiser. The white line stemming from it is where your ship is going right now, because you really have to plan ahead with regard to your maneuvers. You know, where you want to go, make sure you're not going to hit any enemy dead ships, live ships, or islands especially. You'll get these little, you know, alarms going off to kind of indicate, hey guy, you should probably pay attention, we're about to hit something big, and we're just, you know, a tinfoil Japanese tier 1 cruiser. So you may not want to do that. And what I also like is how you'll see that target hits pop up in the lower right, and then you have this running tally in the top right. So every time you hit the enemy target, you get this ding, and you kind of get a feel. And the scope, it can kind of stay in place, but you'd have to get a feel for that. I don't really want to explain it. Like, I just want you to go in there, see how intuitive it truly is. And now if you look in the bottom middle, you're gonna see that there's 2 different types of shells right now. There's high explosive and armor piercing, and I think it's pretty safe to say at most of the early tiers, you know, high explosive is gonna be fine. You're going up against very thinly armored ships, destroyers, cruisers, stuff like that. You're not gonna see battleships yet. And look at that, just look how beautiful it is when it explodes. You'll also see if you hit the letter R, you'll repair. So when someone, you know, sets you on fire or damages a turret or an engine or something to that effect and critically damages you, you're gonna have to hit the repair. Now there is a cooldown for it. So this is kind of what I'm saying. I'm actually not moving the mouse to the right now. It kind of just locked on, and I'm actually aiming a little high. But yeah, see? I'm like, hey man, I just missed the target by shooting over it. What a noob. But there's just so much about it, and it seems kind of crazy. Like, you're like, I'm gonna be driving a ship, right? And here's the score screen, but it's actually fairly intuitive. So here's a battle with the Katori. I did fairly well. Like, I think this is my first game, you know, and got a decent amount of points there, tied 3rd in points. So, I mean, that's good. And I got a kill. I was pretty happy about that. My goal was like, I'm gonna go out there, I might die, but I will be damn sure to sink an enemy ship. That was my goal. So, the score screen's pretty cool. I tried out armor piercing shells and high explosive shells and kind of realized, you know what? These HE shells are where it's at. That's what I really want to be firing up against thinly armored, basically tinfoil cruisers and destroyers. So we're going to see another gameplay here with Japanese warship. And this time it's upgraded. I've got upgraded guns and I've got the refit. I think it was a 1936 refit. I mean, it's tier 1. You're going to be dealing with interwar period warships for the most case. You know, and as you get closer to tier 10, you're going to see stuff that I would believe be late war and maybe even post-war ships in certain cases. So you can see that the ship looks a little nicer. That's from the refit. The guns are a little more powerful. So we kind of went over the minimap in the bottom right, and here you can see kind of a range of observation in that little dotted circle. You can see where my ship is aiming, where my allies are sailing to. An enemy just popped up on the minimap, and there are 3 capture points. Sometimes there'll be 1 capture point, sometimes there'll be 3. Generally there's an objective so as to keep people from maybe like trying to run around and hide, and kind of keep battles to go relatively quickly. Now on the bottom left, you're going to see a lot of information. You're going to see the ship, and it's blue right now, and as you get damaged, there's the visual indication of how much damage you've taken. As you get hit, your ship will slowly lose a little bit of the blue and will be then filled, transparent, indicating how much health you have. Rather intuitive. You also have the numbers showing I have 17,900 health out of 17,900 health. And then if you look kind of to the right of the compass, you'll see how fast I'm going, which is 19.2 knots at the moment, because I'm going full. And you can go full, 3/4, half, a quarter, stop, and then full reverse. So right there we hit critical engine, or our engine was critically damaged. We hit the repair, and you can see there's a cooldown of about a minute. And I'm loading HE shells right now, so there's a lot of stuff going on. And there's actually an autopilot system you can use. If you look in the lower left next to where the throttle basically is, of the ship, how fast it's going. I'm pretty sure that's not the nautical term for it, so feel free to chime in on that one, ladies and gentlemen. We're still working on being BaronVonShips, right? Right now we're BaronVonNoobships. But there is an autopilot, and it's relatively simple to use. You hit M, a minimap pulls up, you click it, and then if you want to kind of chain it, you hold shift and then click a couple times to navigate around islands, etc., which is really, really good for when you play certain things like carriers, which are a top-down RTS style of play. So right here, what's happening in this game is I'm getting punished for basically running into the middle of the map and basically just taking crossfire from, I don't know, it seems like 4 different ships at a time. And here, getting some last-minute shots off at a Japanese 4-stack destroyer. You can see me with my little single stack. Everything's on fire, but I've got this 50-second cooldown. I'm already down to 50% health. It's not looking good for me. And look at that beautiful 4-stacker just running. Look how fast they are, man. Destroyers are so low to the water, especially at this tier. They're fast, they're maneuverable. Many of them have torpedoes. You saw right there a smoke screen coming up, and when you zoom in, he can kind of disappear in that. See right there? That little bit of haze? And then if you were to hide it, but I tell you what, man, destroyers are pretty cool, and I feel like intuitively for me, my style of play, I think I would enjoy destroyers. And I just destroyed that enemy destroyer. I destroyed the enemy destroyer. A little redundant, yes, and the fire effects were beautiful. I'm just thinking I'm gonna get wrecked, right? And here comes some torpedoes. And thank goodness the man upstairs was looking out for me, / luck, in regards to where he fired his torpedoes, his basically dying salvo right there. And it's just intense, everything that's going on. Kind of sailing through the capture point, and then I kind of realized that, so I decided to press S, spam S like 4 different times to go into full reverse, and then I start taking some shots. You saw right there a little turret signal. I got a critical hit on a turret, but this is what happens when someone's using a smoke screen to good effect. This guy's low on health, and it's difficult for the rest of us to kind of finish him off. And here's the aiming in play, trying to lead your target. In that case, leading a little too much. And there's some beautiful fire effects going on right there. So I'm reversing, and things start to get a little tricky with regards to maneuvering in reverse. And that goes really into how, with sailing warships, it's not like tanks or planes. You are piloting a giant piece of machinery. It's a beast. It is a huge beast, and it takes a lot of concentration and determination with regard to where you want to go and what you want to do. You kind of have to plan ahead. So last minute changes, you know, that you could do in a plane or a tank. It's not like that, for obvious reasons. We're in a big ship. Holy ship! So we've gone over the repair, and the compass, you can see that gun. The guns, I have 2 turrets, both of which have 2 guns. And in the lower left, they'll kind of go blue when they're able to fire. And there's these 2 little dots, and each dot is basically where the turrets are looking. There's certain, obviously if you have your broadside to an enemy ship, you're able to concentrate, in that case, both batteries, both turrets on a single ship. But you have to be in the sweet spot. And since I'm at this awkward angle going backwards like El Nubrador, you know, we have to deal with it that way. So I'm trying to think, but I'm pretty sure that I'm really looking forward to destroyers and carriers, because I feel like those will be the most unique. You know, with cruisers and battleships, you're used to using turrets, you're used to using guns. I think some cruisers might, in fact, have torpedoes. I think the Japanese were renowned for that. The Japanese were also renowned for amazing torpedoes, the long lance torpedoes. Americans at the beginning of the war had some pretty, just quite frankly, crappy torpedoes. But man, did the Japanese have some great torpedoes. So I feel like Japanese destroyers and American carriers are kind of going to be where, you know, what I'm interested into the most at the beginning. But yeah, so as I'm kind of struggling to maneuver around, I'm going to go over the different methods to get kind of some of these CBT codes that I have to give away. The first of which is obviously leaving a comment, and I would imagine there's going to be a lot of comments, but you know what, I still want to hear why you guys are interested in World of Warships, what you're most excited for. So that's going to be the question, you know, and I will pick a few winners off that. Then there'll be 2 other lesser ways to kind of get like 1 or 2 codes. The first is through Twitter, and the second is through Facebook. On Twitter, there will be a post about, you know, linking this video on my Twitter, and all you got to do is, you know, favorite or retweet it, and that'll count. And I'll give away like 1 that way. And then the other is through Facebook. There will be a link where, you know, on my Facebook with this video in it, and you can like it and let me know why you're excited about World of Warships, because going forward, I want to know what the community, what our community is really interested and really passionate about, so that I can show it off, that I can check it out, that I can let you guys see it, because since it's a closed beta test, not everyone is has the opportunity to see this stuff. So I feel like, you know, it's kind of one of my duties, one of my badges of honor to show off the stuff that you guys are really passionate about, you know, what you guys are really curious about. So the majority of the codes will be given away through YouTube, and then there will be like 1 or 2 given away on Twitter and 1 or 2 given away on Facebook. So if you try all 3, you got a pretty decent chance of success. And you know what? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a victory. I believe we won off caps. I think that guy might have... Nope. All enemy warships were destroyed. So you can see I got 30 hits, 4 critically damaged, 1 destroyed, 4 set on fire. We defended the base, and then we assisted in base capture. And then there's some missions too. There's all these fun little ways to further interact with the game. The ending screens are pretty detailed. You know, a silly little Katori 1 in a tier 2 battle did all right, you know, and like one of my, I think it was like my 2nd or 3rd game with that ship, because it's pretty easy, as are most tier 1, you know, vehicles in Wargaming's games, to upgrade pretty quickly. And it's kind of cool how you can see how many you killed, how many you spotted, how many you penetrated, how many critically damaged, and I'm not sure what the NA means on the right. Well, I guess it means not applicable, so maybe that's something different, probably with regard to carriers, I would guess. So we're going to be going over kind of the tech trees, just the interface, the menu, all that kind of stuff right now. So you can see how I've not had the best of luck in my Erie. As you can see, defeat in the Erie and victory in the Katori. But here is the Japanese tech tree. You can see the Yamato, tier 10, top of the line, a Senjo cruiser, and then the Shimakaze destroyer, as well as some premiums here. And it's pretty cool, so you can see battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and then a few premiums. And now we're going to go on to the American tech tree, where you can see carriers, cruisers, destroyers, and premium ships. So you got the Independence, Saipan, Ranger, and then at the bottom here you have the Essex aircraft carrier, the Tier 10 battleships, the Des Moines, and look at that, the Fletcher class destroyer seems to pop in here at Tier 9 for the Americans. That is a destroyer I would love to play. And then there is a Russian one, the Aurora Premium Cruiser. Now, from what I understand about the Aurora is it's anchored off St. Petersburg, so the development team for World of Warships like sees this ship all the time, so they had to put it in there. From what I gathered when I was at a press appointment with Wargaming at PAX East, which PAX East was awesome. I gotta work on my highlight video actually. That's something I need to do. So here's kind of cool. You can see the harbor where all your ships are placed. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank y'all for watching. Make sure to pull the trigger on the like button, and I will see you soon.